All righty. Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Roundtable tonight. My name is Chad Owens. I'm an HR director for accounting companies, and I also have my own consulting company, Genesis HR Consulting Solutions. Tonight, we're going to talk about leading people with purpose because this is an important topic because leaders, especially people leaders, have an important part to play in making the culture of a company and making the employees of an organization want to stay. Okay. How many people in here think they consider themselves a coach? Go ahead and come off mute if you think you're a coach or put something in the chat saying you're a coach. All right. How many people think they are a manager? Go ahead and put a one in the chat. Okay. As you can see, managers supervise tasks. Hey, they put out what needs to be done, and they watch to make sure those tasks are done. But a coach develops people because a coach's job should be to take his team and develop his team to where one day a member of that team can take his job. You also developing your people to be autonomous to where, you are developing in their role. You're getting them the training, mentoring that they need to be successful because coaches and leaders are measured on how successful their people are. You know, it makes you not a better manager if you're doing all the tasks. That hey, if one day you're out, who's going to manage your team? So your goal should be to develop your people to where hey, you can step back and let your team run the operation as if you're not there. Okay. You're also going to produce stronger leaders. Those who have been subordinates and now are leaders. Put a one in the chat if you've received from coaching from your leader to make you a better leader, make you a better leader when you became a leader. Put a two in the chat if you didn't receive any kind of training. Coaching cultures, they build strong leaders because you know what? There's a chance for feedback. There's a chance for that leader to really sit down and find out, hey, what is this person good at? Hey, where do I need to lead this person to be successful? And you can see the leadership development outcomes. Hey, coaching and mentoring has the strongest return on investment if that's the route you want to go. Strong leadership coaches improve engagement to where hey, your employees are going to want to talk with you. Retention. Most people leave leaders. They don't leave jobs. They don't leave money. They leave leaders. And operational consistency, where you can see that, hey, operations is running because the further that leader is away from the action, the way they can trust their team and their team has been developed, the more impactful that leader is, where they can extend their arms to do more things in the organization. As you can see, 70% of engagement is tied to leadership. If you are not engaging with your team, how impactful can you be as a leader? They're not going to come to you to want to have those conversations if they're having some issues, whether it be professional or personal. Okay. Poor leadership drives turnover. I mean, most of the turnover, if you are involved in your company's analytics and you look over voluntary turnover versus involuntary turnover, you're going to see that voluntary turnover is going to outweigh involuntary turnover because most people start checking out, if they know they're not being led by a good leader. If they know that their leader is not invested in their development, then they're not going to want to stay. And then culture impacts productivity. Happy employees are productive employees, and productive employees are going to want to come to work. You're not going to see any absenteeism. You're not going to see, low production numbers. So the culture a leader brings is going to impact how their organization is going to go. Organizations with strong leadership cultures outperform peers by 21% in profitability. And we all know now if you are not, or your leader is not being profitable in the organization, their time at their organization may be cut short, because that's the analytics that's being looked at. hey, what kind of productivity, are you bringing? What kind of productivity is your team bringing? Because that's how they rank and stack leaders as to how they're performing, and those are going to be the ones that are either going to be looked at for promotion or are going to be backed by the wayside because they're not producing. And leadership drives retention. Employees stay where they feel valued. If you are, if how many of you out there where do you feel valued where you're working at now? If you do, put a one in the chat. If you don't feel valued, put a two in the chat. And when we say feel valued, hey, your leader comes to you and tells you, "Hey, John, great job at, at on that project. You really went above and beyond." That's going to go carry a lot more weight than your manager just telling you good job. If they're specific at what you've done, is going to be more impactful. Okay. Also, consistency. Your leader has to be consistent at all times because what values are you going to follow if your leader is not consistent? They're hot today, cold tomorrow. They may come and tell you everything up front. The next time they piecemeal things to you. You're trying to figure out what to do. If you can't go to them for guidance, then who can you go to? Okay. Recognition directly impacts morale and loyalty. If you're recognized, hey, a spot bonus, hey, you're featured on the company newspaper because you saved the company money, or you did excelled on a project that caught something that saved the company money. Those kind of things are going to make an employee want to stay because they know, hey, I'm doing great things. I'm not invisible. My leader is looking after me. Hey, my leader's leader is recognizing the things that I'm doing. So those are the things that's going to play a lot. As you can see here in the chart, what drives retention drivers, leadership, recognition, opportunities for growth. If you don't, if after 3 years you've been with a company, you're still in the same role, and they haven't at once talked to you about growth and opportunity, hey, are you going to want to stay with that organization? Okay. Strong leadership coaches improve engagement, retention, and operational consistency. Those are three things that leaders are measured on. They see that, hey, a lot of people are leaving voluntarily because that leader that is not, empowering their employees. That's going to cause some red flags to go up. You're going to start wondering, hey, why is Susie or why is Bill losing so many people off their team when they're looking at monthly and quarterly turnover numbers? And then operational consistency. Hey, if that department is operating and it is a valuable cog in the wheel of making the company successful, and the consistency is not there, where we have an error here, an error there, that's costing the company money, they're gonna look at that leader and say, hey, we need to talk about the way that you're leading your team. Any question? Anybody want to come off mute and give their personal experience, or want to talk about anything we've talked about so far? Okay, don't be shy. Okay. Future ready leadership. Leaders must prepare for tomorrow because there are other companies that are constantly looking at ways to better their leadership, looking at ways to better their retention, looking for ways to better the culture in the organization. And if a leader is not thinking about tomorrow, or thinking about the next month, thinking about the next quarter, thinking about the next year, they're behind the power curve. If they don't have the ability to adapt quickly to changes, we all know AI is happening. We all know all the other things that are going on in business, where leaders must adapt to be able to be effective. Okay, emotional intelligence is now a core competency. Hey, how can that leader not tell that their employees having a bad day? How can that leader not tell if something's going on with their team? Emotional intelligence is important. That comes from engagement. If you're not engaging with their employees and not, have a regular rapport with their employees to where they are, asking the questions, hey, I can tell that so and so is having a bad day because they just are not themselves because I've talked to them enough. So that's what he means by emotional intelligence. Data driven leadership, analytics. Once again, that leader is able to pull analytics to be able to come back to the team and share feedback on those analytics that they're pulling, that's going to help them improve their decision making, help them drive, hey, where we need to pivot to be able to be successful. So a leader must be data driven, being able to pull those analytics. If you're not analytically smart in today's world, you're going to be one of those leaders that are going to be behind the power curve. So I advise, if that's not you, or that's not you, I mean, I advise you to enroll in some of these Black in HR courses, where we have analytics courses going on. Uh, Strong leadership cultures improve engagement, retention, operational consistency. Once again, I mean, that's going to be a common statement that's going to be made throughout with those things, because engagement, because you see people, their companies run engagement surveys every year. Retention, I mean, retention is important because, hey, you're losing a lot of valuable experience if you have people walking out the door going to the competitor. Okay. And operational consistency, once again, hey, you got to have consistency in the organization. Okay. Any questions, concerns? Anybody want to come off mute and give their experience? Okay. Employee expectations. I mean, this is important. A leader must be able to answer these. They want trust. They want to know that, hey, if they know something's coming from C-suite, that they will communicate it to the team. Okay. And they will be able to, be able to tell you the truth. You know, uh, they want development. Employees want to know that they can be developed. They want to know, hey, if I want to advance from being an employee to being a manager, or I want to advance advance up the ladder, what do I need to do? What do I need to know? And a leader that is able to sit down with that employee and have those conversations, stay conversations, that, hey, that's going to motivate that employee to stay. Development is one of them. Hey, are they offering professional development? Hey, are they offering courses you can take? Hey, are they offering you the opportunity to go to go to SHRM conferences, to be able to get that development. And communication. You don't want to have to pull information from your leader. Your leader should be proactive in sharing that anything that's going on, maybe communication with you. And the communication line should always be open. It's just like the open door policy. You should be able to go and talk to your leader about everything, anything that's going on, if that trust has been built. Recognition increases retention. Like I said before, if you are being recognized for the good works that you're doing, and not just the leader coming to you and browbeating you because you may have missed something, that may be a mistake, that are coming to you and coaching you and say, hey, what did you see? Tell me what you see here that would have you be able to articulate the coaching opportunities for you to be better. Psychological safety drives innovation. Hey, psychologically, knowing that, hey, this is a safe space. I can't talk to my leader about, what's going on. Hey, to talk to my leader about, the leader can talk to you about what's going on. If you feel psychologically safe, to where, that your leader's going to come to you for tips, because, hey, you are the closest to the action as to what's going on. The leader's just leading the team. But if you, as coming to you and say, hey, John, what do you think would be a good um, you know, way to go with this particular project, or this project is not meeting, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing, so you feel safe to, hey, your leader can come to you and be able to have those conversations, then you're going to want to be creative, want to be innovative, and helping the team be successful. Hey, put a one in the chat if you feel your leader comes, you trust your leader, and put a two of it in the chat if you don't trust your leader. Okay. Organizations with strong leadership cultures outperform peers by 21% in profitability. Leadership drives everything. I mean, whether it be mid-level managers, whether it be senior level managers, whether it be C-suite. Okay. The culture of organization starts from the top. If people see that, the C-suite leaders are not practicing good things, then do you expect that the mid-level managers are going to, or entry-level managers are going to want to practice good opportunity, good behavior? If they're seeing senior leaders practice that unprofessional behavior, they have the impact of how the culture of the organization is going to go. So, if they don't show that behavior, then why is anybody else going to show that behavior? Okay. Hey, put a one in the chat if you've seen this type of behavior in your organization? Put a two in the chat if you haven't seen this type of thing in your organization. Okay. So the cost of poor leadership, turnover creates financial strain. Now you got to go and find a person that had all that experience because someone important on the team is left. Okay. And instead of investing that money internally, now you got to go and spend recruiting dollars that's going to affect the bottom line. So voluntary turnovers are never good. Uh, where especially if you're losing valuable experience off the team, and now the team has to reshuffle the cover for that person because they've left the organization because they didn't feel that the leader was providing opportunity for them, and when they were not growing in their role. Disengagement, lowers productivity. I know there are a lot of disengagement is kind of like the quiet quitting where their people are not as engaged at work. Hey, they just come in, clock in, and go home because they know, they're there. They need the paycheck, and they're disengaged from their leadership, disengaged from the company, to where they're going to put just the bare minimal in to say, hey, they've done their job for the day, and that leads to lower productivity. I mean, because the person's not going to do the job as well as they should because when they're not happy, and like I tell you, happy employees are creative employees and productive employees. But if a not happy employee, feels as if they're not being valued, and they become disengaged, and then their productivity is gone, and the entire team suffers, and it cascades into the entire company suffering because there's a disengagement within the organization because the leader is not giving those tools, or not, being his or her emotional intelligence is not picking up what's going on. Conflict damages culture. Unhappy employees, start having employee relations concerns where, hey, they may lash out at a fellow employee because they're frustrated. They may lash out at their leader because they're frustrated, and then it's going to be seen like it's a culture that people are not going to be a part of because they see what's happening every day with all the internal conflict happening when you have disrespect between employee and leader, and leader back to employee. And pretty soon the rumor mill is going to start spreading, and people are going to start gossiping. And then you're going to hear about it. Hey, did you hear about so and so? And a leader got into it, or and you know how rumors grow. They grow legs as they leave from where they are. Okay. And you can see the business impact of poor leadership, turnover, absenteeism. People not start calling out, start using those PTO days, start using those sick days because, hey, they don't want to be part of the craziness. Conflict, productivity, all those things hurt the business to where, it affects the bottom line. That affects, hey, will bonuses be paid out? Will raises be paid out? The company didn't have a good financial year, then it's going to frustrate the employees because, hey, we're not getting a raise this year, or we're not getting a raise like we did last year. And, our people are about their money. They want to make sure they get their raise, and not just a cost of living raise. They want to be rewarded for their hard work. Organizations with strong leadership cultures outperform their peers by 21% in profitability. That is absolutely true. Because people are going to want to come to work. People are going to enjoy coming to work because, hey, they know their leader is going to take care of them. They know the culture is where they're thriving, they're growing, and they're developing. And that's going to create profitability because, hey, if people go out and do their best, then they're going to provide their clients, their best foot forward. Where people that are not happy, they're not going to provide their best foot forward to the clients of that company. Okay. Any questions so far? High impact leadership. What does high impact leadership look like? Coaching develops stronger teams, as we talked about earlier in the conversation. if you're effective coach, you're going to develop your teams where, hey, you're the way those people on your team are going to one day become leaders just like you, or people on your team are going to be able to go to other departments to and be successful. But if they have a strong foundation, if you are coaching a good coach that has strong foundation and teaching them how to be successful as a leader, because the biggest thing going from a peer to a leader is to be able to separate themselves as an effective as a leader, knowing they're now leading their peers. Accountability builds consistency. Hey, if a leader can be accountable and say, "Hey, look, I made a mistake. I didn't. I should. I did that. I take accountability for that." Hey, his or her team is going to respect him or her more because they see, hey, their leader is willing to take accountability for their actions that may have caused harm to the team. There may have been miscommunication that the project didn't get done. So leadership take accountability that way, that something that their team can emulate that behavior of taking accountability. And trust builds engagement. Okay. If an employee trusts their leader, they're going to want to engage with them more. They're going to want to have conversations. They have to be all deep, like you're talking to your best girlfriend, you're talking to your boy, but you having conversations about the work that you're going to want to be more involved. You're going to tend to want to come off, you got your comfort zone and be able to have those conversations. But, that trust is not established in the beginning, or that trust is not earned. Of course, that employee is not going to want to engage with their leader because, they haven't earned that. Okay. And you can see the traits of effective leaders. What's been the most effective? Communication. There should be open communication at all times, whether it's good or bad, that needs to be communicated to the team. Trust, coaching, and accountability. All those things are important for a leader to actions for a leader to emulate. If they want to be an effective leader for their team. Okay. Here's the call to action for those who are leaders and those who anticipate to be leaders. Lead intentionally. Everything you should be with intention. It shouldn't be anything that a person, the leader, you as a leader, where your team will misinterpret everything. And for those who are aspiring to be leaders, you lead intentionally, knowing that, okay, hey, I'm going to be transparent with my team. I'm going to communicate to my team. You emulate the actions that you want to see this that you want a leader to display to you. I mean, not everybody's going to be you, but if you have trust and communication with your team and accountability, that's going to go a long way. I mean, all the other things will fall into place based on the reactions from your team. Develop your people. Your team is no good, or you are not effective. You don't want to be as effective as a leader if you're not developing your people. Okay. Tell you, being stagnant on a team and not developing, probably going to start losing. That person's going to lose interest. That person may start looking for another opportunity somewhere else. So if you develop your people, like I said, you should be developing people to take your job as you advance in the company, so that way, you're building that tree of success. It's kind of like an NFL coach does, a head coach when they have people on their assistant coaches on their teams, and they develop those coaches to one day be head coaches of their own teams. Okay. That should be the same mindset on you in business as a leader. Okay. Create cultures that employees don't want to leave. That recognition. Hey, John, hey, we're gonna recognize you next month at the leadership meeting for your contributions you made this month on this particular product. Hey, team, hey, we did excellent on this project where we came in ahead of schedule and we saved the company some money. Hey, everybody's going to get a spot bonus of whatever that amount may be. Okay. So those are the kind of things that if you create a culture as such, where they're recognized, they have opportunities to grow, that employees are going to want to stay and not leave the organization. Okay. Any questions so far? And the message I leave you with is lead with purpose, transform through people. That is my message for the day. Any questions? Anybody want to come off mute and have any questions or comments that they want to talk about? Any feedback? Okay. Okay, as you know, if you've been looking, Black in HR is establishing chapters. We've also already established chapters in Chicago, the DMV, NYC, Houston, Dallas, Miami, Austin. I am the vice president of engagement for the Atlanta chapter. We have an event coming on Friday. We have game night. So, depending on what area that you're in, it will be behoove you to become part of the chapters and have the fun that we have in these chapters. You can join any chapter at Access City nationwide, no additional cost. You'll be able to attend in-person events like secret dinners, mixes, and networking experiences in multiple cities. I'm sure you've seen the communications from all the different chapters that have established so far of the events that they're having. You can participate in citywide based programming and discussions. Build relationships with HR professionals across different markets. You're able to network and find out about opportunities, and then you can connect with chapter leaders and local community initiatives. I mean, you can say the Atlanta chapter. We had our secret dinner last month, and now we're having another event on Friday with game night. So, I mean, if you're interested in haven't joined the chapter yet, now's your opportunity to take advantage of these opportunities that's available to you. As talked about before, secret dinners. I was a part of the one for Atlanta, which is a great time. Lunch and learns. That we put out uh, on the app where we have lunch and learns. Rooftop parties. Rooftop parties are a great opportunity for you. Let your hair down, network, and enjoy people that's in that particular chapter in that area. Day conferences. I think this year we are returning to the SHRM with having the Black in HR is going to have their uh, uh, area for the SHRM, and we're looking at the future events with Power. Power is going to be a traveling. We've had a Power conference in the past, but this we're going to change it up to where it's going to travel to the different countries where the chapters are. Happy hours, an opportunity once again for you to let your hair down and network with your fellow HR professionals to learn. Okay. Exclusive access, real connections, career growth. That's all the things that Black in HR can offer you if you're not if you're ready to join and be part of the chapter. All right. And once again, like I said, it's an invitation to join Black in HR and join the chapter. Your best year ever as a Black HR professional. We have a lot of great things coming. And if you're looking for more information, scan the QR code. You can even become an elite member. That way, they'll give you more options as to what's available for you. Okay. Do we have any questions or concerns of anything that was presented tonight, or anybody want to come off mute to give feedback or come off mute with any thing they want to comment on? All right. If there are no other questions, hey, thank everyone for joining tonight on the roundtable. And hopefully, if you haven't joined Black in HR, hey, you'll be a future member of Black in HR. If no other questions, hey, good night and enjoy your evening.